Hello, today we're going to be talking about our spending money checklist that I've made. This is not going to be a short video. This is going to be kind of long. We're going to be talking about ways to kind of improve our passive income, spend money wisely, spend money in ways that it'll either make you more money or make you a better player. We'll be looking at primarily the spreadsheet I made, but we'll be coming across some other things. We'll be talking about the stock market, bank, a couple other spreadsheets, other things like that, and kind of touch around a bunch of places as we go. I recommend you stick with the whole thing as we go through it, and hopefully you'll gain some information. New players should really benefit from this. But maybe there's something other people can either see and think about or kind of develop and start making better decisions or change how they think about things. A lot of torn starts getting gray after a while, where what's right is more subjective than people would like to think. So we're going to go ahead and go into it. The spending money checklist, I'll have a link to it at the bottom of the video in the description. But if you're in Black Statues, you just click Forums, go to My Faction, and then Useful Stuff right here. And this is where all our useful stuff is. You can see third-party websites, you can see guides and scripts and all those sorts of things. Spending money is right here. We're going to press OK. And this is going to bring us to the base spreadsheet, and I strongly recommend you have a Google account specifically for Torn. This is separate from your Torn login and all that sort of thing. This is an email address that you can use to kind of gather these spreadsheets and resources and share with other people without having it tied to anything else you're doing. It's just useful to have. And once you have your Google account, you can go to File, Make a Copy. I'll just make a copy like that. We'll go ahead and close out of the main. And here in our copy, since we're the owner, we can check things off as we go. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about these things. We might ramble a bit. We may get a little rambly. The goal is to just kind of familiarize everyone with like why we spend money this way, the reason for having these things on here, that sort of thing. So we're going to go ahead and get into it with the first thing. The first thing is a donator pack. These cost about 23.5 mil per month. You'll see in my price estimate they're generally very conservative. I kind of overestimate everything, or did when I wrote this originally. Some prices have changed, but it still gives you a good rule of thumb. So for the donator pack specifically, what this does is it gives you donator status, which increases your nerve bar from 100 to 150, as well as increases your energy regen by 50% as well. So it's a very good energy resource, and energy is king. So if you look at donator packs here, you definitely want to be looking at bazaars instead of item markets. We can see there's a significant price difference, and you do want to be budgeting for this. You want to make sure you have the income for this before you do anything else in Torn. And this is if you're not a subscriber. As a subscriber, you get those additional monthly rewards and the point lottos and all those sorts of things, and it's quite nice, but this is something that everyone should have as some form of donator status. So next on the list is a fully upgraded PI with all staff. Prices right now, it's about $1 mil per day between the 660K per day in rent and then the 350K in upkeep. It's fairly cheap. If you're struggling to pay for this sort of thing, then we'll need to look at income, and maybe we can do that in a different video. General rule of thumb is be participating in wars and fly a lot, especially starting out. But so for this PI, we will be doing a full thing so we can get the maximum happiness, especially in the early game, but all the time. Your happiness is very, very important. Once you start getting it low like mine is now, you will start feeling that in your gym gains, and you will need to keep it around the 5K to not have any impact on your gym gains. So it's very important to have. If you can't quite afford this yet, then the other thing you can do is you can just rent a basic PI that just has some of the standard upgrades with make sure it has the airport, the landing strip on it, so you can hire a pilot and at least do the flying, because that gives you access to the better airplane and the improved travel capacity and all that. But the goal is to get a fully upgraded PI. The happiness does matter. Next on the list is just having a stock of Xanax. Xanax prices can change from time to time. You may find yourself in situations where you're either being hospitalized or you can't get to the market, or maybe there's been some market manipulation where Xanax prices have gone up and you're not able to source them at a decent price. Just keeping a handful on you helps with that, and it's a small price to pay, and it's very, very useful to have. I would recommend you buy some of the basic items as well. We'll talk about that in another video, what items are good to have, especially as a new player. But especially make sure you have your Xanax. It's very important. And next on the list regarding that is energy for refills. The energy refills through the point refill system is a very, very cheap source of energy. When you start breaking down Torn into what makes a good player, it's ultimately how much energy they spend more than anything. And you'll see that like energy regen through donator packs and Xanax are both very, very good, but once you start getting past that point, the price of energy refills is extremely cheap for the amount of energy you're getting. A lot better than other things you'll be doing later on. So this is definitely something you want to do every single day, is spend money on an energy refill. And I'm not sure how much this is costing these days. I think it's still around 900K a day. You have to buy points from the market. I'm not sure what they're worth right now, but it's definitely something you want to be doing and something you want to budget for. The next thing is your happy jumps. This is something you can do in a bunch of different ways. The way I recommend is something people generally refer to as a candy jump. It's kind of a middle ground between the Choco jump and the EDVD jump. I think it's just generally good to do. What I recommend is looking for a candy item that is going to be a lot of happiness per dollar, and generally that is going to be candy kisses. If you look at the price of candy kisses in relation to other candies, you'll see it's about 60K, while big box chocolate is 50K. But if we look at the base happiness, the big box is 35, while the candy kisses is 50. So we're getting significantly more base happiness for just 10K more. It's rather obvious to go this route. And the way I would structure this happy jump, if you're unfamiliar with happy jumps, we'll do a different video talking specifically about them. But how I would structure this ideal jump is to just do a day's worth of candy boosters, and then the ecstasy at the start of the day with the energy refill that you should be paying for anyway. That's going to give you at least 300 energy on this kind of morning jump with the candies. But maybe you, for whatever reason, saved your Xanax from the night before. You start with 400, then you do your refill. You can boost your stats quite a bit with this method. It's not that expensive. It's cheaper than the basic chocolate jumps, but and if that's where your budget is, that's where your budget is. But you're still going to skip months of the normal training that players are going to have to deal with. The other thing to be looking at is these Tootsie Rolls and Bloody Eyeballs. They kind of float in a similar range as the Candy Kisses. We can see they're base 50. These two are base 75, so 50% more happiness for roughly 50% more cost. The thing about Torn is just responding to markets. A lot of people do big box chocolate because there's a guide written years ago saying that it was good, and they still do that. It's not the best anymore because there's no source for it. Maybe one day there'll be a crime that sources a bunch of big box chocolate, but for now it's just not worth doing anymore. So just keep an eye on these prices when you do this sort of thing. The next thing on our list, one last thing about the Happy Jumps is I recommend doing them till about 450k per stat. A lot of people say stop around 250k. Some people say go to a mil. Yeah, the middle ground seems to be about right to me, 450k. I don't actually feel very strongly about this. Under 250k, you definitely need to be doing it, though. So next on the list is just budgeting for the extra Xanax. Once you get out of your Happy Jumps and you're being as active as you can, you should be looking at trying to do 3 Xanax a day. And that isn't realistic for a lot of people. But 2 Xanaxes, and that's going to be about 2 mil per day. That starts to become your most expensive daily budget at this point. And it's kind of starting to add up at this point, but it really depends on how many Xanax you're able to do a day. You want to do as many as possible because this is one of the best energy sources. But it's really going to depend on what you're able to do. The next is the Bazaar. The Bazaar is useful for listing items that you fly for and source yourself. Generally using a trader is better than listing on the Bazaar yourself unless you really know what you're doing. You know what kind of prices to set, and you know how to avoid muggers and all that sort of thing. I'm not really the guy to talk about this. I haven't been using Bazaar very much for years and years at this point, but it's still a very good resource to have just for listing whenever you need to. You don't want to undercut too much when you're doing this, I will say, because if you do, you will either cause prices to drop a little bit where the market will kind of react to a bunch being dumped at once, or you may kind of alienate yourself where you have to be watching the game at times when you don't want to do that. So it's something to be careful of, but it's still very, very important to have. And you know, if trading is your thing, then this is very critical. It's very important. The next thing is the large suitcase. If you're already flying for income, then this is going to be a very important thing to have. It's just an extra 4 travel items, and it only costs 10 mil. If you're budgeting out through this checklist already, this is a drop in the bucket. It's not too much of a problem. It takes a while to pay itself off, but it does eventually. The next thing is the point stock ticker. This unlocks the stock market, and this is where your passive income and smart money play is really going to come into effect. The stock market is massively important for spending money wisely. Once you get access to this, it costs points to buy. I don't remember how many. It's not too significant in price though. You're able to access this page. You see there's different stocks you can buy with these 3-letter acronyms. Each one has a certain effect and a certain price, and you can buy and sell here. Some of these effects are kind of passive benefits that are permanent as long as you have them. Others pay off over time, like this Feathery Hotel coupon I get from FHG. Happens every 7 days. And then some are monthly, the cash ones specifically. So what we start looking at this is our ROI, what our return is relative to how much we pay. And that's going to be the critical thing going forward. So what we start to look at with this is first we know we're going to want sim 1. The 1 means we're going to get our first stack of it, and sim is the 3-letter acronym. So if we go up here, we can find sim. Here it is. And we see that it gives a drug pack per day per stack. So our first one, it's going to cost about 350 mil, and then we'll get a drug pack per day. The drug packs can be opened for a 50-50 chance towards either 10 Xanax or 10 Vicodin. So they're priced at about 4 mil. You can get about 8 mil worth of Xanax, or you can get junk with the 10 Vicodin. With the rule of large numbers, if you're playing Torn for a long time, it's just worth it to open them all the time, in my experience. If you're not into that and you want more stable resources, then it makes sense to just sell them and buy Xanax. But in my experience, it's worth doing just to open the drug packs. And who knows, with Travel 2.0, there's been a lot of rumors that maybe supply packs are very important to travel with. So we'll see if that bears any fruit. But let's say we got our stock ticker, we bought Sim 1, so we know how the stock market works now. Next thing we do is we turn around, we stop playing with stocks, and we start putting our money in the bank. So this is something you should have been doing since you reached level 5, but you want to be putting your money in for about a week and depositing every single time it comes out until you hit the 2 bill cap. Once you hit the 2 bill cap, you can work on unlocking the other months. And you just kind of want to find what has good APR versus returns. And generally it's either first or second month. Right now I have the poorest decision at 2 months for 65%. I should have done 1 month for 66%. This would get me that money out earlier so I could make more purchases with it, do better things. And then, you know, if I wanted to have it locked up for longer, I could have done that. But I'm a bit impulsive, so I find that these 2 shorter options tend to be better for me. But that's very subjective. Generally, you just want to look at the APR. So after we fill our bank and it's at 2 bill and we have our weekly drug packs to supply us some Xanax, we're going to start looking at the stock market again in order to get some passive benefits and some passive income. So next is MCS1. If we go back to the stock market here, we can see MCS right here, and what it is it's 100 energy per stack per week. And so this is energy that you can withdraw. I have an example here with my nerve right here ready to go. And so we just click collect when we're ready to collect, and now our 7-day process starts over again, and we'll be able to withdraw it again. And as you can see, my nerve did increase, and that can be very, very useful, especially the MCS for energy. The energy can be used for happy jumps during the early game. It's really good for ranked warring, and just energy is king, so whatever you can figure out to do, it's gonna pay itself off. After MCS, we want to get our benefit blocks that pay off at ROI of 30% per year or more. And so for this, we're going to go to Colaman sheet. Colaman has made an incredible script on a spreadsheet that I just really use all the time. It's been really helpful. I recommend it to anybody who's asking me what they need to do with their money or how to make passive money or whatever. And it's just a spreadsheet right here. We go ahead and we click on it, and because we have a Google account already, it's going to prompt us to make a copy. And if you don't want to make a copy and you just want to look at it, you can always remove the copy part of the URL and just look at it. But I've used this. I still use this. I'm just doing this for the sake of this video to show you guys how this works. So I'm going to make a copy right here. And we're going to see all the payoffs for all the stocks. And we'll see the stacks. We see Sim 2 right here. We see Sim 1 right here. this does require an API key. If you're unfamiliar with what an API key is, it's a code related to your account so that people can use it to make calls on your behalf to get information from the game. That's my kind of layman's understanding of it. And with these API calls, they can get information like how much money you have on hand, what your current energy is, what your medical cooldown is, all sorts of information that you may not want people to know. And because of that, you need to be very careful with who sees your API key, what you give it to. I don't know Colaman. I can't, say that this is 100% safe or anything like that. I have used it for a long time and I haven't had any issues, but take that for what it's worth, I guess. For me, I have made a API key I'm going to use specifically for this video, and after this video is over, I'm going to delete it, so this key will be gone by the time you see this video. To do this, you just go to your settings right here, then you'll see API settings. You can create an API. You want to do limited access, it'll be yellow. And then you just want to name it something like Stock Sheet or something like that. And that's it. Then you can copy the code and paste it right here into the API key. Once you've done that, you can click the big old button that he's made and it'll start his script. And his script's going to run for a second, and then we'll get a warning from Google because it's going to be reaching out to Torn and other websites, and Google really doesn't like that. Now, you shouldn't be able to see the pop-up because I'm streaming from the Firefox right now, but right now I have a pop-up that says Google hasn't verified this app. It's requesting sensitive information. And it has a blue back to safety button, but it also has a gray advanced button. If you click that gray advanced button on the left, it'll say continue only if you understand the risks and trust the developer. I don't, but I do want to use this spreadsheet, so I'm going to go ahead and click on go to Stock API unsafe, and that will bring up a confirmation that I want to give permissions to this script, and what it's asking for is for the spreadsheet to be able to contact outside sources, in this case Torn. As far as I know, this could be a very malicious script for all I know, but in my experience I've never had problems using this. I use it all the time. And if you're unsure and you just want to check this out, you can always delete these API keys afterwards. To do that, you just go into the settings. When you have that API key that you want, there will be a little X button, and then you can just click delete. But as we see here, the script has run now that I've confirmed and given it the permissions it needed. And we see all the stocks I have, as well as our ROI for each stock. And when we look at these ROIs, this is how much of the cost you get per year based on the income. And we can see Sim1 is here near the top with 62.97%, which means that's how much of this cost we're going to get after a single year. It's really, really good payoff. It's really unbeatable. This sort of passive income, watching our ROIs, is what Torn ends up being about for a passive play style. If you're active and you're doing trading and wars, there's all sorts of things that can make you a lot of money, but when you want to learn how to make your money make money for you, this is what you start to look at. So we've already got our Sim1, that was the first stock we bought, and then we filled up our bank. If you're a new player, you probably didn't have any merit, so you're probably right here. This one right here that says tunneling, this is for creating viruses through the computer science educations. We'll talk more about educations in another video. If you're a new player, you can kind of ignore this right now. This is if you're making firewalk viruses. If you are, you definitely want to pick up IIL at this point. For now though, we want everything at 30% or more. And if we look at this, this ends up being about 3.1 bill worth of stuff. We're going to be picking up FHG1, TCT1, PRN1, and SIM2. And by doing that, we're going to be able to make quite a bit of income just on our weekly returns. You can see the first one, you kind of want to go based on the ROI here. And the first one is really expensive. So because we may not have that much cash on hand right away, we can jump down to this next one that's much cheaper, only 30 mil, buy it, and then when we're able to afford this, we can go ahead and sell and buy this. One of the best things about the stock market is the fact that anything you buy, you can sell for only a 0.1% tax on it. And that's much cheaper than any sort of item market fee or anything like that. So the stock market ends up being a good way to store money because getting it out is very, very cheap and very, very quick. You can do it by yourself as long as you're not, as long as you're in OK status. So, with that in mind, we could buy all three of these, and then once we have enough to buy this, we can sell these three, buy this, and then work on these three again. And that will get us all the 30% ROIs. That means after about 3 years, they will pay themselves off, and then they'll still be making us money after that. And Torn is about the years. I mean, I've been playing this game for 20 years. There's a lot of people that have been playing it for that or longer. I know it sounds strange to be thinking about things in years like that if you're a new player, but once you start playing Torn, you realize it's more of a social game, and it's just kind of where you're at. So these sorts of things don't bother you as much. But from here, we're going to be going down pretty quick from the sheet because we kind of got the basics at this point. That's all the 30% ROI. And then next is CBD. I showed you the example of me withdrawing CBD. This is 50 nerve per stack. And where is it? Here it is. It's 50 nerve per stack. It's relatively cheap, and it's really good to have. The nerve is either going to be saving you money using those alcohols or kind of letting you speed through your CS levels quicker, or it's going to let you get about that 10k per nerve if you're kind of doing your crimes the way you should. Either way, you're getting better at OC, so it's worth doing. The next thing to be looking at is MCS2. That will be 200 energy per week rather than the 100 energy. That's great. Once you're at this point, you're doing really good. Next, we're going to be buying all the passive profit stocks that are 25% or more. So we'll be looking at these three right here. We can see this is about another 3.5 bill. Grain is cash, Munster is packs of energy drinks, and then IOU is another cash return. These are relatively cheap, these two on the either side of Munster, and those monthly payouts can be a little frustrating when you first get them because, you know, it's monthly, but over time they really do pay off and they do pretty well, so they're worth getting. After that is where I recommend IIL. This was before Firewalks kind of blew up in price. We'll talk about that another time. That kind of gets into OCs and educations and all sorts of different things. So if you haven't got IIL when you first started this checklist, now would be the time to get it. Next is getting some good gear. Go ahead and buy yourself an armor set and some fancy weapons. We'll talk about weapons and armor in a different thing. Get like a full yellow set at this point. You can afford it and you're making passive money now. You're doing pretty good. You should know what you want at this point. Should be like a riot set, or maybe you get like an assault set with a welding helmet or something. Whatever it is, you can afford like a beginner set of armor now. Next is the ROI 20%. So we go back to Colaman stock, we see all these at 20%. And this is another about 5 bill right here. And these are kind of cheaper items up top. And then we get 2 cash returns that are really worth it. Right now, these cash returns will end up being about 50 mil a month now in cash that you'll get, and that feels really good when those come up. The points start being worth it again. I know points prices have been crazy, but they start to be worth it now. And so that's kind of straightforward. Next is buying more CBD and MSC or MCS. This is the energy and nerve stacks, and you really could at this point, you could be buying CBD3 if you wanted. It's relatively cheap if you look at the price compared to other things, and points we can remove from this sheet because they are listed now. At this point, you've spent most of the money you need to. You can buy a better equipment set now. If you wanted something like a Delta set or Marauder set, maybe even Vanguard or something like that, now's the time to look at it, because you're not going to be able to make much more money off passive income at this point. You're kind of hitting the ceiling of where your money can go. I would recommend you buy some really good weapons for 2 separate loadouts, and we'll talk about that in a different video, but you should be dropping like maybe up to 15 bill right here. It's very expensive, it's preferential, and it's subjective, but it should be kind of like the big milestone where you've gone from being a new player to a very established player now. Next is buying your own PI. You can do this a little earlier if you want, just to save you headaches, but at this point your rental is actually one of your highest ROIs that you could kind of break off and improve yourself. So buying your own PI makes sense at this point. Next is and PI is private island, if I have not explained that yet. Hopefully if you're watching this video you know enough about torrent to know what that is. Next is all ROI above 15%, and you'll see that this is the last time this comes up. This is the last time we actually need to look at Colaman stock for ourselves. So we pick up all these right here, and you'll see I don't even have all these yet. Some of them are extremely expensive, and the returns are not that great. We're under 20% now, so this means it's going to be more than 5 years before these pay themselves off. They're still nice to have in some respects, but they're not all super significant. So at this point you kind of just buy what you want when you want. It's rather optional. You can see that FHG2 would be pretty nice. It's just under 20%, but it's 3.5 bill. Do I want to justify that expense right now? That's the question I ask myself. At this point, once you hit these 15% though, you are done with stocks. You should not be getting anything under this. And we will go ahead and close this and start looking at that now. So if we have all those, we can buy some more stacks of energy and nerve, and if you have it, you can also buy evil. Evil is the happiness version of the energy and nerve stocks, and it is a candy bar right here. This can be really good for happy jumps in the early game. It's very, very cheap for the amount of happiness you're getting, and if you line it up with your McSmoogle, then you kind of make this kind of weekly happy jump. It's not really free, but it's a passive happy jump each week, which can stack onto everything else you're doing. And evil's still really useful in the late game. A lot of people kind of sleep on it, but happiness does affect your gym gains when it starts getting this low. I'm doing energy drink training, so when I'm using my cans, my happiness is decaying, and I do start to see that in my gym returns. So I either have to be rehabbing, which I'll be doing after this video, or I need to be using evil. And I strongly recommend doing a few stacks of this whenever it's relevant to do so. It's kind of subjective, it's kind of difficult to use, but it's very important. And then finally, the last thing on our spending checklist is just buying fully upgraded PIs and renting them out. If we jump back to this where I saved this API key to show you the Colaman spreadsheet, we can see I did some quick math. The best PIs I could see listed were buying for $1,666,000,000 and then leasing them for $660K per day. And that is the cheapest. You can of course list for more, but that turns into an ROI of only 14.5%. So if there's any stocks that are below that point, there's no sense in buying them. You should just buy PIs instead. The only exception is like if you can't afford the PI yet and there's something close to it that's much cheaper, then you could buy that and then sell it once you get to the point where you can afford the PI. But that starts to be the end game. Once you have this 14.5% ROI, that's where your passive money goes. So that's kind of the end of the checklist. You can still buy some more of these passives if you want, especially MCS is never bad, but that's kind of how you use your money. That's my recommendation. So I hope this video was helpful for you if you're a new player or kind of a middling player and you aren't sure what to do with money. Hopefully this helped you out a little bit. I do thank you for watching it. I know this is a longer video. I know it's kind of dull to see someone talking about a spreadsheet for 30 minutes, but I appreciate you sticking with me, and hopefully it helps you become a better player, more wealthy player. As an added tip, I'll tell you I'm doing printing works right now as my burglary for my nerve. I'm sitting at about 15K per nerve right now. It's just those embossers, so I'm just rolling for embossers constantly. And getting those, they're still dropping in price. Once they, well, the seals are still good, and so is the bonded latex. But once those embossers drop a little more down, I'm going to be jumping from printing works to Lake House, because Lake House has a bunch of separate tools and enhancers, especially those needed for OCs, that really pay themselves off. So if you're kind of thinking about crimes, you're done with your CS, that's just a little bonus tip. That's where I'm at with my crimes right now, what I'm doing. Anyways, thank you again for watching, and hopefully this helped. Let me know if you need anything or if there was any trouble with it. Appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you later.